Hi and welcome to Purple Trading. This is Kiriago from the Purple Trading office. In this video, we're going to look at how to set up your MT4 with useful features, tips and tricks. Some of the topics we're going to look at, and I think it's important before we get into setting up the MT4 charting, tools, etc., is to just go back and have a brief overview regarding the Forex itself, the market, types of analysis used, both by banks, professional traders, and so on. And then we're going to look at some key economic indicators which tend to influence the market, role of central banks, and then we're going to move on to MT4 navigation, and then look at some useful features, tips and tricks. So the idea obviously behind this is to give you a better idea of when you open your MT4, you're gonna see movement of some type of currency or the currency you elect to trade, and it's always a good idea to understand why the market is moving in a certain direction. So this is why we're going to go into this brief overview to give you a better understanding and help you become more confident when tackling Forex. So, what is Forex? Essentially, it's a foreign exchange market and it determines the exchange rate between two currencies. The exchange rate between currency pair is determined by people speculating whether central banks are likely to make changes regarding monetary policy. So, intervention by the banks can be a good thing, or it can be seen as a good thing by traders and investors, or it can be seen as a bad thing depending on what their actions will be in the future. So the value of one currency increases over another currency if the market feels it's in a better economic situation compared to its counterpart. So basically, if one currency is outperforming another currency in terms of its economy, then you will see that particular pair trending towards the upside. If the market feels that it's performing or underperforming against another currency, then the trend will tend to be to the downside. So the value of a currency decreases over another currency if the market feels it's in a worse situation than its counterpart or counter currency. Okay, so traders profit by correctly speculating the future price of an asset and or currency pair. So this applies both to commodities as well as currencies, because some commodities are correlated with currencies. For example, when the dollar increases in value, gold tends to decrease in value. So, you know, it could potentially create multiple trading opportunities depending on direction. So the Forex market, the foreign exchange market, Forex FX currency market is a global, decentralized or over-the-counter OTC market for the trading of currencies. This market determines the foreign exchange rate, as we alluded to earlier. The main participants in this market are the larger international banks, financial centers around the world, and these function as anchors of trading between a wide range of multiple types of buyers and sellers around the clock, with the exceptions of weekend. The foreign exchange market is unique because of the following characteristics. Its huge trading volume represents the largest asset class in the world, leading to high liquidity. So we need buyers, sellers, ultimately liquidity to present trading opportunities. Otherwise, if there's no one to trade with, then it makes it very difficult to speculate in this market. So its geographical dispersion, it covers most continents, Europe, America, Asia. It's a continuous operation, 24 hours a day except weekends, and trading is from 2200 GMT on Sunday until 2200 GMT Friday New York time. And the use of leverage to enhance profit and loss margins, and with respect to the account size. So there is leverage involved in order to access the market and take positions to make trading possible. So market sessions and trading hours is on this particular slide. We see a representation of, or the 24-hour representation of the market and the active trading sessions between the banks, retail, FX markets. The times are London time, because London is considered to be the central trading hub. And just looking at volatility, and the most volatile time of day is when the New York Stock Exchange opens, and it tends to overlap with the London session in the morning. And this is called the nylon period. So when we have an overlap between the London session or Europe session with the New York session, there's a very high degree of volatility and potential trading opportunities. The times represented here are London times, and when the New York session closes at 10 p.m. London time, the Asian session follows on with the Australian session. So we have 24 hours of trading, 5 days a week. Okay, so trading approach and analysis. What tends to be used when or before taking action? So there's generally two types. We have technical analysis, and that's the use of previous price action to determine future price action. Very simple. And fundamental analysis is interpreting economic data, central bank decisions, live speaker events, geopolitical events to speculate the future value of a currency. So just looking at key economic indicators and looking at central banks, they tend to use three main economic indicators to determine the general state of the economy. Okay, so they keep their eye out on these three particular indicators to make sure everything's running smoothly. One of them is inflation. This is basically the cost of living, the value of price and goods and services. And how this works is if inflation is high, then it's likely that, or potentially, the bank could raise interest rates to fall in line with the rise in cost of goods and services. So it's essentially what they would like to do is add value to the currency to bridge the gap in rising inflation. Because if you give somebody more interest on their money, then it increases the value of the currency, and this is a good sign for the economy. Another indicator is GDP, and this is economic growth within that particular country itself. And it focuses mainly on production. So there's a lot of production news coming out daily. It's good to keep an eye out on that, what's happening. And lastly, unemployment. They would like to see it under 6%. And where we get this information is I use an economic calendar, forexfactory.com, and from here it gives you the daily news events. The red flags are the high impact and the most traded and the most important. So you can find that at www.forexfactory.com. So the release of these figures tend to have the most impact and generate a high degree of volatility. So again, they become trading events, and based on the outcome, speculators will decide whether to buy or sell the currency. Moving on, the role of central banks. So they decide on monetary policy to sustain a healthy economy. Now, the good thing is that they have predetermined targets, and they normally announce these to the public. And normally the targets are, and this goes for all central banks, whether it's Europe, America, Japan, Australia. So the targets are generally, they want to see 2% growth or GDP, and also a 2% inflation target. Moving on, if there's any sustained deviation away from these targets, then it could lead the banks to intervene and make changes. So that's why when these news reports come out and they come in unexpected, or to what the expectation is, or better than expected, then we see a great deal of volatility on the chart. And this is people speculating based on the outcome of the news events whether the bank's going to take any action or not. So the speculation of any and/or actual changes in monetary policy generates a high degree of buying and selling interest. So what can the banks do? What influence do they have, depending on the outcome of economic events, reports? And surprisingly, they don't have many options. So they can either raise or lower interest rates according to inflation. If inflation again is sustained high over a period of time, then they could decide to raise interest rates. This is good for the economy. People buy the currency. Or or otherwise they could lower interest rates to boost the economy. So this will generate more money in the economy, cash flow to raise spending. Or another way to boost the economy is quantitative easing. However, this is not seen as a positive thing, and any announcement to introduce quantitative easing or continue with quantitative easing, and quantitative easing is to print money to boost the economy, is generally not seen as a positive thing. So any decision or speculation by the central banks to take action using any of the above methods will have an impact and possibly decide the future value of any given currency. And just a statement at the end is, get the picture. Do we get the picture now? So the idea is, having covered this information, when we switch to a chart and we see a currency either trending up or down, we know that if it's trending up, one currency's economy is outperforming the others. If it's trending down, then it's vice versa. So I wanted to cover that to give us more confidence moving on to an MT4 chart and getting a better understanding of what we're looking at. So from here, we're just going to move on to the MT4 features, tips and tricks, and we're just going to move on to an MT4 live chart. We're going to look at how to navigate the MT4, some of my suggested setup, and we're going to have a look at some of the features. And then we're going to go on to helpful tools, and this will be price alerts, hotkeys, and following on from this tutorial, we're going to look at expert advisors. and I've got some good tips for that one. So that's going to be an interesting one. So from here, I'm just going to move over to the MT4. Okay, so the market is currently closed at the moment, and I'm looking at a daily chart, Euro USD, and just to highlight what we spoke about earlier, we can see the euro is down. There's a clear downtrend. It's in this structure at the moment, and it could potentially go down further. On Friday, the US posted some very good economic growth data, or GDP, and earlier in the week, President Draghi, head of the European Central Bank, he mentioned that they will continue with quantitative easing. So America looks in good shape. Europe still involved with quantitative easing, and the picture paints itself. So it looks like America is outperforming Europe at the moment. So that's fine. Now, just looking at the MT4 platform itself, how to navigate your way around, and some suggestions that you should have. So firstly, the important thing is to have a look at the View tab here, and there's a variety of options. Importantly, the language, it's set at English at the moment, but you can have any language. So feel free to change it to a language that you're comfortable with. Symbols are very important also. We click on symbols. It allows you to add the Forex pairs, commodities, whatever you wish to trade. You can add them to your market watch window and trade them accordingly. So you just highlight on any of these, open them up, feel free to see what's available, and then show. Once you click on show, it will be added to the market watch window and ready for trading. So going back to the View tab, we can add the market watch, which is important. I also suggest you open the Navigator window and the terminal window, which can be seen here down below, because here you can see any open positions that you have. You're trading at the moment. You can have a look at your account history, what you did in the past, some other features here, particularly the code base and experts, which we're going to look at in the next video, and they're really helpful tools when you want to find a particular indicator or an expert advisor. Okay, and these are some free options, so it's great to know these, and we'll cover them in the next video. Just some other things here. We have a templates bar, and this allows you to save your templates. I'll have a look at that in a minute. Indicator list to add your favorite indicators, and magnifiers to zoom in and zoom out. Now this is a standard bar chart. We can change to a line chart. I like sometimes to use a line chart to help me draw my support and resistance. Okay, and you can switch back to a candlestick chart here. This is an important tab, the new order, if you want to place an order or open a trade on Euro USD. So click, and it gives you a buying, selling option. Choose your volume, stop loss, and take profit. If you want to go back in history to see what price was doing to help with your analysis, I have two bars here, or tabs. On the left we have the scroll tab. At the moment this is pressed and will not function. Okay, so for this to work you need to unpress this tab. So click to unpress, and this will allow you to move back in time and show you what price did in the past. Okay, so remember you need to unpress this for this to work. Otherwise, if you try dragging it without unpressing it, it will just go back to the nearest time. Okay, so at the bottom here we have some features that we can use. We have the time frames to switch between minute chart and the different time frames. Just going to go back to the daily chart. Some features here like the horizontal line, vertical line. I like using this particular the vertical line and placing it on the chart when there's going to be a news announcement. So I'm fully aware, so there could be a news announcement somewhere here. Got a position open, you know, news is coming up. I can either stay in the trade or give me the option to close the trade if I feel it's going to be too volatile and may affect my current situation. Okay. So in order to have these features available to you, simply right click on this toolbar here, set all these to standard, tick them all to, it should be all ticked, okay. Or from here, if you want to add a feature, go to customize, left click here, and for example, I want to add a rectangle to this. So I click on the rectangle, insert it, close the window, and the rectangle appears here. And this can be used as an aid to identifying support and resistance zones. So very simply, you can click on this and draw like so, or even here, for example. Okay, so and you can manipulate this as you like. So click anywhere, or when you see a pop-up of the rectangle, just try to click. It's quite tricky. And you can see these little squares that is highlighted this particular shape. If you right click here, you can go to the properties, change the style or the lining. Okay, it tells you here that this will pop up on any time frame. You can choose a time frame, okay, or you can delete the indicator. You can also delete using the backspace button. Again, you need to highlight it and then just use the backspace key on your keyboard, and that will disappear. Okay, so again, to add any feature here, we simply right click on the toolbar and then make sure these are all ticked. Go to customize, and then you can either add or delete some of these tools. Okay. So another important feature, and what people like to use, is the trend line, and this can be found here. So we can either use it to just draw, you know, something like this, like a trend, for example, or we can go in and draw structure. Here we have, so we had a run to the downside, and we have this structure at the moment. Okay, we can highlight this for any potential breaks, for example. Yeah, there we go. So with this particular type of analysis, if price breaks to the upside from this structure, it could potentially keep on going up, or if it breaks below, it could continue to go down, very simply. Now, the default of the trend line is that you get this continuous ray, and it can be quite too much, or you don't necessarily need the trend lines to be continuous and going on forever. So what you can do is simply, again, left click to highlight the particular tool you're using, right click, and then just go to Trendline Properties, and in the Commons tab you can see that the ray option is on. So this is why we get this continuous and endless trend line. Unclick it. Okay, you can make the line thicker from, again, the common. So sorry, in parameters you will find the ray option. You can either have an endless ray or choose not to. Okay, so we can OK that now, and now we get this shortened trend line. We can extend to where we want it. All right, so it makes it a lot easier for viewing. So that's fine. And again, we can remove using the backspace key, or right click and delete, and that disappears. So another useful tool here is the Fibonacci retracement tool, and if you're not really comfortable using support and resistance, it's a great tool to use. How to use the tool, very simply, is drag and drop from high to low. Okay, and this will draw some support and resistance lines for you. So let's have a look here. We'll choose a high from here, or let's take the highest high. You can take a recent high to a recent low, or highest high going back to a lowest low. So it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to take this highest high here, sometime in February, and I'm going to drag and drop to some, the latest lows, which happened after the 11th of June. And now what it's giving us, these lines, and so these are support and resistance lines that you can choose to use when price approaches them. Okay, so price came down, hit this support, now it's testing resistance. It could break to the upside or to the downside. So this is a very useful tool. I use it all the time. I like drawing my own support and resistance, and then confirming the lines with, or my zones lines with, the Fibonacci tool. So this setup now we've created is it's full of lines, fantastic, full of tools, excellent stuff, and it can become a little bit confusing. So to clear up all the fuss, very simply, just go to charts, and then we look at objects, and then object list, and from here we can delete some of the tools that we've added. So we're going to delete the trend line. Okay. And the Fibonacci extension. Okay. So again, that gives you a nice clean chart again moving forward. And again, with a daily chart, we can use the candles to gauge pip movement using a crosshair. So we just zoom in and look at how this can potentially work. You've decided, you've seen an opportunity and you've decided to take a trade later on in the day. You have a stop loss of 40 pips and your take profit is 80 pips. Okay, so you have a risk reward policy of 1 to 2. You want to gauge the potential of that trade. And how do we do that? So every currency pair has what we call an average daily range. So it's the average pip movement over the last 14 days. Okay, you can get this information anywhere on the internet, and I recommend you know the average daily range for all the pairs that you trade. Okay, so this will give you an idea of the potential of your trade and if it's a good time to open the trade. So if I take the crosshair, so for example, if the euro dollar's average daily range is 100 pips, okay, and I'm looking to open a position, I want to know how much that pair has moved today, if I'm going to be able to reach or potentially reach my take profit. So I'm going to take the crosshair, okay, and I'm just going to let's go back. It could be in. So say I was trading on today on this candle, today's trading, and it so happened to be this candle. I'm gonna take the highest high and the lowest low of this candle here, and it's telling me that this has already moved 111 pips today. Okay, so sorry, let's check again. So the middle value is the pip value. You have three values here. The middle one is the pip value. It's in micro pips, and it's telling me that it's already moved 112 pips. So if I've decided to open a trade and my take profit is 80 pips, for example, and the average daily range of this pair is 120 pips, and it's already moved 112, it's very unlikely I'm going to hit my target. Okay, this is why it's very important to do your research before opening a trade, because this will give you a very good idea of whether you'll be able to reach that target on a particular day or whether you would have to leave that trade open to eventually reach your target if you've chosen the direction correctly. Okay, so that's the crosshair and the average daily range. And another useful feature to have if you want to trade quickly or you're trading the news or any speaker announcement, any news coming from the central banks, for example, and you want to execute a trade without any delays or confirmation, okay, then we can add to the chart the one-click trading option. So from here, to add this, go to Tools, and then Options, and then we look at Trade, and then we click the one-click trading option. Okay, it will ask you to accept the terms. We'll just do that like so. Okay, everything And to apply the tool to the chart, simply right click on the chart, one click trading, and it brings up the window here. And from here we can either buy or sell, execute the trade very quickly, and get into the market when most buying and selling decisions are made, or where there is a very high period of volatility. Okay. Also, to apply this, you can simply use the Alt and the T option on your keyboard. So you can manipulate the volume here. Here it's currently set at micro lots, but you can, choose up and down. Obviously, the market's closed, but you can choose the volume, execute trade very quickly. So moving on, we have, we have a trade option for, a trade open, for example, and we've done this very quickly. We've used one-click trading, for example, and we want to either modify the trade, add certain features. So what we can do is simply left click, okay, and then let's say, for example, we've forgotten to place a stop loss. We can add a stop loss here. Okay, can set it to, so currently it's at 40 pips. 400 is 40 pips. Copy as, modify, that will set your stop loss. And at the same time, you can set a take profit. So remember, the trade is open. You haven't had time to do it because you've used one-click trading. You can still modify the order any way you want. Okay. So left click here will open this window. I'm left clicking on the stop loss option to give me, the stop loss window to give me a stop loss option, right? Now, if I right click, same as take profit, yeah, will give me the same option. If I right click here, it will give me some other options to modify the trade, similarly to the last window. Okay, change my volume, stop loss, add stop loss, remove stop loss, add take profit, remove take profit, so on. Okay, so right click, can close the order as well. I can open a new order. So there's a variety of options there. Fantastic. Now you've opened a position and you are in a winning trade. Okay. And another way to protect your profits is to add a trailing stop. So I can add a stop here, highlight stop, and it will give me, it will allow me to open a trailing stop, and this will follow your trade, okay, for a certain amount of points. So as your trade continues to move into profit, your stop loss will move accordingly to the amount of points that you choose. Okay, so if you want your stop loss to be 15 points away from the current price, okay, so you've locked in your profits. If it moves 15 points, more than 15 points against you, and you've added the stop loss, you'll be closed out, but at least you'll take profit. Okay, you can widen the trailing stop by the available points to you, or you can customize and add as many points or pips away from the current price. Okay. So from here, you've made you've had a successful day's trading. You want to save this setup, and maybe you want to use it on another chart. Okay, the same type of analysis. you've come across a great strategy, you want to save the indicators, you want to save the setup, what you've done for the day's work. So from here, we simply save the template. Got a templates option here. Click on this, and it says Save Template. Okay, give it a name. We can call it my template 2. Okay, save that. And how does this work? So if we go to a new chart, anything really available from here, if it will allow us. Let's have a look. Okay. All right, so we've got this chart, done nothing to it really, and we want to apply the template we've saved onto its USD CAD, our time frame. That's what we've just pulled up, and we want to add the template to that, and there we go. So the analysis we've previously done, the winning analysis that we've come up with, or strategy, we've applied it to a new chart very simply, and we trade from here. Okay. So just some additional features and tricks that might be helpful here. Just going to scroll back. So we're going to have a look at some of the indicators already here, and we're going to allocate what we call hotkeys. So we're going to allocate a key to an indicator that we like to apply easily onto the chart that we're using. So the Navigator window shows us the indicators, and for example, I like the RSI, which is the relative strength index, and it's here. Now if I right click on here, it will give me a set a hotkey option. I'm going to click on here, and it opens up two columns, a control column and a key. So I can choose the control or command. So either Alt, I'm going to use Control. It's the relative strength indicator. I want to use R on the keyboard. So I'm going to choose R, and I'm going to set it. Okay. So I've selected the hotkey. I can choose any indicator and place any hotkey. And close it. So this is already showing. So let's delete. Okay, and I'm going to try adding it now with a hotkey. So it was Control R. I've okayed it, and it's come up. Yeah. So that's how we select the hotkey. Just to show you that feature again, we can look at something else. Something else available here. Let's look at fractals. So highlight, right click, set a hotkey. It will come up. Choose the command, choose the key, set it, and that will be ready to go. So going back to the relative strength index indicator, previously added. There we have it. We can delete these. Okay. So that command's now deleted. You highlight on the box and just delete the keyword or the key letter. All right, so that's hotkeys for indicators. And here we're going to look at price alerts. So price alert is you're going to get a ringing tone or an alert on your MT4 when price reaches a certain level. You're busy doing other things. You've done your analysis, yeah, and you want to be alerted to your MT4 when price reaches a potential buying or selling zone. So you've identified the zone. For example, you may be using Fibonacci. You drag and drop that. You've done this previously, and you want to be alerted for a I don't know, sell position when price reaches this resistance 23, if it reaches. So you're expecting a move to the upside here, and you want to sell it again. So I want a price alert around about this level. To do this on the chart, simply right click, trading, and then alert, choose the alert, and then we can move this manually. Okay, this can be moved manually. The reason it's not working now is because the market's closed, but you can drag this alert to where you want it. So if the market was open, I'll drag it to around this point here, and you'll be notified with an alarm bell that price has reached the potential selling zone, and from there on it's up to you to take the trade. So again, to do this is right click, trading, and then alert. You get this the arrow showing up, and you can move it as you wish to any level you wish. So we've come towards the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed the overview, some of the tools, some of the features, how you can manipulate them with your charts, make trading a little bit easier, give you a little bit more confidence. Again, the next video is going to be on expert advisors. We're going to look at how to upload them onto your MT4, how to find free experts using the internet or related websites, and how we can search for indicators and experts on the MT4 platform itself. So that's going to be interesting, very useful. Next video. So again, thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure going over things again. Good luck with your trading. Obviously, for more information, feel free to visit our website, purpletrading.com. We have a great support team to point you in the right direction with any further assistance you need. So look forward to seeing you in the next video. In the meantime, take care and see you soon.